Welcome back to the Light and Life podcast, conversations on faith and life in downtown Colorado Springs. I'm your host, Liza Cunningham, here with Pastor Tim McConnell.
Hey, Liza.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Good. It's good to be back together.
Yes, it's been a while.
Been a minute. Been a minute.
How's your day been?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, day's been good. Was at an important breakfast this morning. The State of the City address was this morning. And,
That's awesome.
It's been a full day, but it's a good day.
Oh, good. Sounds like your day has been
How's
more
your
productive than mine.
Really?
Well, my day's been busy, but I wouldn't say productive.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring up something completely unrelated to
All
this
right.
podcast. And that is the fact that I got bit in the head by a mosquito 2 days ago. And I woke up with a massive welt on,
Whoa.
like swollen.
On the forehead?
Yes. I will show you pictures and we can put it in the credits or something of the video because it was massive. And it's, for whatever reason, I feel like every part of like energy
I can't
is
even
focused
see.
right here.
No, I am going to
You
stare.
can't. I'm wearing like an absurd amount of makeup.
I'm going to stare at your forehead for the rest of the podcast.
But it's just like a little bulgy thing coming out. And so it's all I've been able to like focus on or think about today, even though I've been busy.
But a year ago, it was a spider bite.
I know. I need to be supervised at all times, I think.
I think September is a month where you just need to maybe shelter in.
Yeah. Maybe September's my comeback month.
Comeback month? Okay.
Yeah. Except for the fact that, this started September was this bug bite. But maybe the rest of September is like, okay, what else?
What
Nothing
does
can
September
happen.
hold?
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it holds, cozy nights in.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we're talking about overcoming apathy.
Yes.
Speaking of our days being productive or not.
Exactly. So maybe not just holding up inside for forever.
Yeah. What kind of inspired this topic for you, Tim?
Well, we're in a series in church right now called Who Cares? And I wanted us to take on that series because I feel like apathy is something that people are feeling. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that people are not confident that their life is making a difference or that that there's meaning and purpose, and people are, I think, just sort of losing traction with caring. I think we're having a hard time caring. And in fact, I'll talk about this, but I was inspired by a book that Christianity Today magazine named the 2023 Book of the Year by Uche Anizor called Overcoming Apathy. And I grabbed the book and I thought, this is awesome. This is really awesome. And I just resonated with so many things in it. So, so I thought, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get this on the podcast so we can walk along through the series thinking about how do we overcome apathy and not just live in a who cares world. And it's our 40th episode.
Let's go.
How about that? 40.
That's so fun. I love doing these with you.
Middle-aged.
A middle-aged podcast.
Yeah. And this is coming out around my birthday. So,
woohoo.
Yeah.
How old are you turning?
Middle-aged.
Okay.
No, maybe
We'll
just slightly past. I don't know.
We'll keep it under wraps.
If I'm middle-aged, I'm going to be pretty old when I'm all done. I'll put it that way.
What? All done?
All done.
That's how you describe end of life, is just all done.
All done.
I love that.
Yep.
So when it comes to apathy, what would you say is the definition? I don't want to just cap it at definition. How would you describe apathy, and then how do you feel it or combat it?
Great. I mean, I think what we're talking about here is just that feeling that apathy literally means non-caring or non-feeling. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's a really old word. It's a very old word. The Greeks used to use it the Stoic philosophers used to use it as a virtue. They said it's actually, you want to be apathetic because that means to not have feelings. Because when you have feelings, you're being disturbed by the things around you. And really, if you're a mature, in control person, then you should be bigger than these feelings. So feelings should just wash off your back. And so they thought apathy is a really strong virtue for a person to say, I'm not disturbed by emotion. But that's not the fullness of life. Like when we start to feel apathetic, when we don't have feelings, we don't have emotions, life just really starts to go gray. It starts to go colorless, and we need to care about things. We need to have emotions. We need to. Frankly, we need to suffer things. I mean,
right.
that was the big thing about Stoicism, was like, I don't want to suffer anything, so I'm going to put this big shield around me, and I'm going to be apathetic, and then I don't have to suffer things. Well, honestly, suffering is part of life, and so is joy, and so is laughter, and so is love. But if you take away all of those things, what are you left with? Just sort of this gray, meh kind of existence. So,
right. I was watching Yellowstone recently, and a quote on one of the episodes is like, the bad times or suffering is kind of, it was along these lines. I'm really botching this quote, but the bad times are to have like a point of reference for the good, so that good is good. Because if you're just apathetic, completely desensitized to everything around you, then nothing's good.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I remember, I think my wife Abigail and I, when we were dating, had a conversation of like, this was in a movie too, a Steve Martin movie, Parenthood.
I'm obsessed with Steve Martin.
You got to go back. If you've not done Parenthood, that's one of the classics. It's one of the best.
Okay.
And I am obsessed with Steve Martin too.
Is it up there with Cheaper by the dozen?
It's above. It's above.
Okay.
I mean, I'll cry at both of those.
Uh-huh.
I will weep at both of these films. But yes, so we asked each other, are you a roller coaster person or a what's a carousel?
Oh.
That just kind of goes around. And like, do you want to feel the highs and lows of life, or you just want to feel like a consistent level of I'm in control? And we were both, in our early years as we were falling in love and just sharing, you know what, I want to risk the highs and lows, because I don't just want to go around in a carousel where everything is predictable. I want to feel the highs and lows of life. And so this is kind of one of those, I think there's a lot of reasons why people get apathetic. I think there's a lot of reasons why we're in a wave of apathy right now, I think generally. But it's important to note as we jump into something like this is different from depression. Like depression is a mental health issue, and there are experts that are better than you and I that could help people with this if they're suffering from depression. But genuine mental health struggles like depression, that means you're up against something that is deeply psychological, possibly physical, something medical, inability to sleep, inability to get up in the morning and move out. Apathy is a little different. Apathy is not a lack. It's not like I can't do it. It's like I just don't know why I should. It's like, why should I? I mean, what's the difference?
Right.
That kind of feeling, which I think, I don't know, I think a lot of people are feeling that.
I would agree.
Would you?
Yes, and I don't know if it's just generational or if it's just everyone is so... I mean, we're in a political season, so everyone tries to block out a lot of negativity, but with that comes blocking out joy too. Yeah. I don't know if it's like the monotony of the work life.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like everyone just has a lane that they're trying to stay in.
Right.
And run in it.
Get the most out of that.
Yeah. Like for me, for example, I'm a feeler. I have the roller coasters of emotions all the time. And I think, like you were talking about in the beginning, I've almost tried to become apathetic, which it is not, like I'm thinking about it out of, if I'm zooming out a little bit, is not the goal. I don't want to be apathetic. I want to feel the highs and feel the lows and, act accordingly to that. But right. I think just to have a level head sometimes in the workday specifically.
Yeah, you don't want to be, well, that's the other part of it, right? Like the pathos, it's also where we get the word passion, but it means like you've been hit by something, you're suffering something is overwhelming you, and you don't want to be overwhelmed. Like you want to be able to navigate, you want to be resilient, you don't want to be washed over by your emotions and out of control. But there's something, if we pivot all the way to like,
Sure.
I just want everything to be gray and dull and unwanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then
it's
it's kind of a miserable life to live because, I mean, just the best way I could describe it is numb.
Numb. I'm going numb. Yep. Like there's a old song, comfortably numb.
Oh, I've never heard that. You're making me feel...
I have become comfortably numb. Pink
Uncultured.
Floyd. That's Pink Floyd for you. Pink Floyd reference.
Oh, man, are you
Best
Pink
concert
Floyd,
tee of a generation.
junkie?
No, I'm not at all. But I do remember that song because there's just, and there were others in the grunge era but yeah, my generation was the whatever generation. Like we were famous for pivoting off of these big institutional systems that were created to make everything right. And we were like, that's not gonna do it. We're sarcastic, sort of the whatever generation. I think, like Seinfeld is like a marker of the Generation X.
Okay. Okay.
You watch a lot of Seinfeld?
I don't. I was a Friends girl.
Friends. Yeah, Friends was a little different.
It was different.
Because the value was having this collective experience.
Right.
Seinfeld is just totally like nothing. It's the show about nothing. Famously, what they said is they set up the show, and as they created the show, they said, this is a show about nothing. And for Jerry Seinfeld, as a stand-up comedian, he was making the point that stand-up comedians really... Honestly, he was making the point that stand-up comedians live in kind of a dark world because they're trained to make a lot out of superficial things and then to dismiss actual really important things for comical effect. Like I'm going to make a big deal about where the button is on my shirt or like the sandwich that I got or because it's kind of funny. But I'm going to dismiss real things because they're not funny. Like I'm not going to talk about marriage or sickness or death or life, on bigger terms, because it's not funny.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But it created this universe of making a whole lot out of insignificant things and then totally dismissing important things. And in fact, I think I'm just going to read a reading, if you don't mind. Yep.
Please.
So this book, Uche Anizor, he's a professor out at Talbot School of Theology, which is part of Biola out in California. And he wrote this book, Overcoming Apathy. And one of the things he says is that he thinks a lot about how Seinfeld impacted the way he looks at the world.
That's awesome.
Because it was like this world that majored in indifference. So subconsciously, I grew to believe that it was cooler to not care about meaningful things, or at least to not put any earnestness on display. I knew in my head, however, that there were important things in the world to care about. I just couldn't bring myself to care deeply enough about them or move toward them. I don't believe I'm alone in this. I think that many of us experience this disconnect between head, heart, and hands. We know what is good, right, and life-giving, but we cannot seem to lift a finger to do anything about it. We know that a bit of quiet reflection would do us some good, but we hit play on that fourth consecutive episode of whatever show we're into. We're aware that spending some time in worship with other believers might inspire us, but we'd rather sleep in, especially after our previous night's Netflix marathon. I am calling this the curse of apathy, and many of us have been stricken by it. Conversations with friends, youth workers, my students, my colleagues have convinced me that we live in a culture plagued by apathy. For too many of us, life feels like a show about nothing. It feels unworthy of our serious attention. We are citizens of a Seinfeldian society where only inconsequential things matter? What do you think about that?
I just want to know why it feels like that.
Yeah.
And when did it change from feeling that way to, or from not feeling that way to feels like there's this just general feeling across the board of every person I interact with of we work and then we die. Like it really, like, I know that sounds
right
morbid, but
get up, work,
what's the point? Like,
yep.
And from a faith-based perspective, I had a conversation with my Bible study about this recently, actually, where we all seemed to struggle with the question of, like, if God knows the ultimate end of our story, when we're all done, if you will.
When we're all done.
What's the point of, taking certain actions, disciplinary actions, from a faith perspective? Like, what's the point of praying? What's the point of worshiping? God ultimately knows where you're going to be. We came to the conclusion, and I think you and I have talked about this multiple times, that you have to foster the relationship with Christ. Yeah. It's not a one-ended relationship on his end. Like, he wants to be in relationship with you. But you can take faith out of the apathetic side of things too, and it's like, okay, what is the point of all the stress, all of the burdens, all of the joy if it's all fleeting anyway? Right. Like, why not just have this self-protective bubble,
right?
To not experience pain. And what I'm realizing, actually, in my personal life is when you don't address pain and you try to feel numb to it, it comes up in ways that are not as obvious as, like, just this crying fest or this, single time of misery. It comes up in my behaviors, or comes up in the ways that I think about my peers, or
show up in relationships with.
Yes. And it makes me this cynical person instead of someone that...
Cynicism is part of this, right? Yeah. Like it's sort of that that who cares, like, it doesn't really matter anyway. Like, I'm never going to really make a difference.
Yeah.
I've got this little bit of time. Let me just eat, drink, and be merry, I guess, or like,
Yeah.
And what does it all mean anyway?
Do you ever work aside?
Uh-huh.
Do you ever wake up, have a day where you don't have any plans, which I'm realizing as I grow older is quite nice.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes I, like, wake up in fear of, like, how am I going to spend this day?
Huh.
And am I just existing and just, like, wasting the day?
Yeah.
So then I, like, make myself be productive. So I'll, like, manic vacuum. And
you don't want to waste the...
Yeah, but it's like, why do I feel so bad sitting and, like, enjoying a movie? What is where's the guilt there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm even saying.
No, it's all right. There's another book that is really feeding me right now on this topic, and it was by an author named Alan Noble, called On Getting Out of Bed in the Morning.
Oof.
And it's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome. But his real point is that life is a gift and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift and it's a responsibility. And so to get a day, a day's a gift. And that's so important, that your perspective of seeing life as a gift, as a grace, and so you can enjoy it.
Rather than a chore.
Rather than a chore or a track to run to prove something, or, I don't know, a system of potential harms to be avoided, like to run in fear of everything, or fear of not performing, just to stop and say, this is a gift. This is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to receive it and say thank you. But then also his point is it's also a responsibility. So the gift is also a responsibility, and choosing to get up and get out of bed and love God and love neighbor, and whatever ways that those two things can manifest in that day, that bears witness to the value of this gift of life. So it's a gift that God gave us, and it's like if someone gave you a great gift and you just said, awesome, thanks. Like someone gave you a Corvette or something.
Yeah.
Which is going to happen to you.
If anyone wants to do that.
It is going to happen to you. If there's anybody, if I wrote a list of people that I think will one day be given a Corvette.
Just gifted.
Yeah. Liza Cunningham would be on the top of the list.
You know what? That's so nice. I would love if that could happen. Prayers appreciated. And here's the thing, though. When it comes to responsibility now, I think
it's a gift and a responsibility.
Right. Maneuver-wise, I'm great. I can operate a motor vehicle. I actually work a lot in the automotive space. I know a lot about it. Here's the deal. My attention span is what gets me in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Because I'll be looking like, oh, look at that ad on the side of the road. Or, what? They put a baseball field there? Or, and then all of a sudden there's brake lights in front of me and I panic. I'm just a horrible driver. So if you're considering giving me a Corvette, let's pivot and give me, a family safe.
A really good insurance policy, like a Subaru.
Yeah. Give me something that's like, has a low monthly payment if I'm supposed to just.
Yeah. Well, this would be a gift. You see, it's free.
Right. Okay. So.
But if you didn't use it and it just
But what if
sat,
they're paying it monthly?
Right.
It's free to me, but what if they're paying it monthly?
Somebody's paying the price.
I don't know.
That's right. But if you didn't use a gift, then that would be a real
shame.
Bummer.
Yeah, totally. So maybe I should.
So
you know what? Give me the Corvette, guys. I changed my mind. I'd love a Corvette.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
so life
how do
is
we overcome
gift and responsibility. Yeah. So how do we overcome? Well, so Professor Anizor, he was looking into sort of what are these causes, and so there are some things that I think that we're all suffering from. I think we're all suffering from information overload, digital addiction, just scrolling. It makes us numb, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And your generation is the one that's coming up with, isn't your generation the one that you had an iPhone the whole time? Or no, the iPhone came out and you remember when it came out.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the next generation.
That doesn't, they were born and
digitally native.
Was a thing. Yeah.
Smartphone native.
Yeah.
And, but that whole idea of sort of disappearing into the screen, I think it leaves us emotionally numb and it tends toward apathy.
And, there's all kinds of studies on this, but people call it doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling.
And that is almost a coping mechanism to numb out your life.
Yeah.
To like disconnect from your life and connect somewhere else.
And not even doom scroll, because doom scrolling, like going and finding the worst thing possible, but just scrolling, like numb scrolling.
But my generation has deemed even that doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it.
You're just going on and on.
You're doomed by starting the pattern. I think is the idea behind it, because you're sucked into a black hole.
Right.
Of endless scrolling until your eyes bleed.
Yeah. So there's this digital sort of numbing effect. There's news overload. In our times, we know everything that's going on around the whole world at the same time. It's just too much. There's economic pessimism for your generation in particular. Your generation is known as the meh generation. If I was the whatever generation, people call you the meh generation. Like,
we're unfazed. It is what it
is.
Unfazed
is what it is.
But also, I would say my generation is one that, I don't know, I had a client say to me that my generation is babied.
Yeah, coddled.
Yeah. Which I understand. I understand what they mean. They don't mean that in a way to hurt my feelings or attack me. It's that the things that happen to us, we want a solution. And if there's not a solution, we give up and we're just like, it is what it is. We work and then we die.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
Yeah. Yes, there's sort of this, it's kind of raging in the rising generation. But a friend of mine actually pointed out that apathy is also really, really hard to overcome in the later years too, when you're in that declining capabilities and you're not working anymore, and it's pretty hard to get up in the morning and figure out, like, what's this day really about? And so that was a good thing to remember too. But so Uche Anizor lists 7 potential causes. So let's just go through these, and sort of what he prescribes could be helpful. The first one is, he says, doubt. So what's he talking about? That because doubt can be a good thing. If you have a question about your faith, if you have a doubt, you can go digging, you can go praying. It can drive you to your knees. It can drive you to scriptures. It can drive you into good conversations with friends. Like, what's this about? How do I understand this? Like, God's in control, but I still have choices, right? And God's got a plan for my life, but I'm still unfolding the mystery, right? And there's a story to be told. Yes. It's not, God's sovereignty is not deterministic, as we were talking about earlier. So it shouldn't push you to hopelessness. So doubts can actually be propelling, but if you've got unsettled doubts and you sort of give up on that pursuit, then that can be a potential cause of apathy, where you just start to feel like, I guess I just don't care. Yeah. So his cure for that is patience. Like, be patient with your doubts, be patient with your pursuit of finding answers. So that's
rather than just like giving up on.
Yeah, don't give up.
Okay.
Yeah, don't give up on satisfying that finding that answer, scratching that itch. That if you let doubt sort of sit there and you don't pursue it, that can build this feeling of apathy. Like, I don't know what's behind door number 2, and I think maybe I just don't care.
And I'm good with not knowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
A second one is grief. We all have loss, and we have events of grief where someone has passed away, or we've lost a job, or we've lost a friendship, or we've lost something in our lives. And if you don't process that, you were saying earlier about some unprocessed things. If you don't process that can manifest in a kind of apathy that just says, I'd rather not feel than get hurt again, or I'd rather not be on the roller coaster. I'd rather just set up a shield, get in a bubble. And so his Christian cure for that is hope, that even when you're going through grief, to hope for that season that you feel healing and restoration, and you know that your life has got, a good trajectory. Yeah. The third one is triviality. So his point here is that we are hit with all kinds of trivial information. When we're going through the news and stuff, like at the same time you hear about this great flood that killed 10,000 people around the world, and then the next thing you scroll to will be like Taylor Swift broke a nail on stage.
Or look what I ordered on Amazon.
Or look, yeah, that's right.
Here's an unboxing video.
Right. And that produces a numbness in our emotional frame. Like, I don't know how to take seriously what's meant to be taken seriously, because I live in this and now this kind of world, like where the news says, a meteorite is headed toward Earth and we will all be dead in 60 days. And now this, the best way to get the most cheese on your pizza. And yeah. Which just is triviality, he points out. So, yeah, what do you think of that?
I don't know.
Oh, we're running way out of time, too.
When you say perspective is the...
Yeah, perspective is the cure to that. So, like, getting things right-sized, trying to get things right-sized.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant of the writer to come up with that. And I agree. I think that is a good cure. It's hard when you have the flip-flop of
Yeah.
the two thrown in your face all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Christian community helps to keep perspective, like what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few more, okay? So
Drill through 'em.
And we're totally out of
We
time.
got it.
So he talks about feelings of inadequacy. Am I ever going to really make a difference? Do I have what it takes to make a difference in my life? So the Christian cure for that is significance, knowing that God has a purpose for your life and that God has things for you to do that are beautiful and good and true, and to find that significance. He talks about, the next one is fragility, by which he's talking about, you said your friend says that, or someone told you that your generation is coddled.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes because we want to avoid harm, we wind up really insulated, we wind up bubble wrapped, and that actually leaves us with no resilience for doing the hard things. And so the cure to fragility is actually healthy discipline, taking on hard things.
Yeah.
Like, that you can do hard things, that kind of cheer, and knowing that God's going to call you into hard things and he's going to carry you through them. And then lack of purpose. And the cure to that is recognizing that there's a reason for living, there's a purpose for life. God made you for a reason. Your life is a gift and it's a responsibility, and he made you to worship him, to love neighbor, and so your life has a purpose. Don't lose hope.
That about wraps up our time. And if you're enjoying these conversations on faith and life, as always, guys, please leave a comment below on the YouTube version of this podcast. And if you have a topic that you'd like for us to discuss, please email podcast@firstprescos.org. And then we'll look forward to seeing you guys the next time when we talk about Christians and politics. Should be a good episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
See ya.